Welcome to the Pure Conversation podcast. I'm your co-host, Zach, together with my co-host, Joseph. We will be interviewing business experts. This week's guest is owner of Max and Mina's ice cream store, Bruce Becker, located on 7126 Main Street, Flushing, New York. Max and Mina's is home to some of the world's most unique ice cream flavors, including Lox, Horseradish, and Captain Crunch. Max and Mina's has been ranked as one of the best ice cream stores in the world and also been featured in board games and game shows. So, Bruce, thank you very, very much for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
So we're going to go straight into thank you. And we're going to go into the first question of how did you get into the ice cream business? Tell us a bit about it.
So it's a question that's it's a long journey to the question, but basically I found my grandfather's recipe book in the 1980s. My mom asked, my grandfather had passed in 1985, my grandmother in 87. So she asked me if I wanted to go down in the middle of break to help clean out their house. And I said, sure, in Coral Gables, Florida. And sure enough, I went and we cleaned out the house. He had books from everywhere, and I found his recipe book. And that was the seed that started the journey.
So
That's
were the original flavors, were they as wild as some of your flavors now, or were they a little, well, like what did you find?
It's crazy. He took such great notes. I never found some of the flavors that, at least, look, we taste things, our taste buds today are going to be different than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So when I was a child, things tasted totally different. Look, products do change, in a lot of the products like soda, they eliminated original sugar, like kosher pass over time, they'll resubmit the ones with real sugar. So, it's hard to say what was I really eating and what I wasn't. Each time they said you can't really compare a person in their generation because it's all different. So, that being said, just being true to myself and what I tasted, I felt like I tasted things that I didn't see in that recipe book. That's the truth. Like there were some flavors that I've tried to replicate, like he did with lychee nut, and I followed it. And look, it could be possible that and I did get some really good lychee nuts. Obviously, Florida's got some really access to some really solid ones, but it's a different ballgame when you're trying to compare your taste buds from the past to the present. But basically, he was ahead of his time in that some of the flavors that he gave us to taste. I never found the exact balance of what he had in the recipes, but look, there's no question. Now is like a whole different, right now is a whole different era. Now is like, you need to have this kind of food. You need to have something that's ahead of the curve, because that's people need that. Life is so, after this year of 2020, it's so precious, and everybody wants to live, and they want to celebrate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you've got your grandfather's recipes. They obviously weren't as cool as what you've turned them into now, but they obviously had great backing. But how did you actually?
Nut sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good, to be fair. But like some of the ones that I've researched sound pretty outrageous and pretty cool. How did you actually begin the business? Then you had the recipes, and where did it start from there?
So, first it was a beginning of a lot of it's trial and error. I was walking with my girlfriend in this preserve this past week, and she was asking me, there were times where we would literally try. It was trial and error. You're trying something out till you learn the process that fits for. He never made cereal ice cream. So till we learned that process of making cereal ice creams, there was a lot of trial and error. And sometimes there were things that really weren't worthy of serving, just because if the process isn't right, everything could change. It could lopside everything. So you could have the best ingredients, which is this, of course, the start to making any really good ice cream. You need really good ingredients. Don't be skimpy on the ingredients, and that's been our strategy from day one. But then, secondly, it's the process.
So, in the beginning, how did you originally get your name out there? How did you get people to try your ice cream? Was it there just a general interest in the flavors you were offering, or did you have to convince people at first, no, you got to try this?
Yeah, so in the beginning it was more, well, it's been the same attitude now. Obviously, now the store's taken on a whole new it's taken on a whole new position. Now the buzz, I've been spending my time at the scoop shop. My brother's been spending time at the scoop shop. So it's taken really on a whole new play where whoever comes in, whatever there might be, the phrase that we say is it's up to your mood, what you're in the mood for. Try some stuff and see what fits you today. I'm like, to me, that's like one of the greatest options. And that's probably a big part of the success. The store's been like booming. I mean, we knocked, our wholesale business has been knocked out, but the store is booming. And a part of it is from the flavors. Now, in the beginning, obviously when something's new and it's different, it's a shock to people. Like people, when we did the fancy food show, when we did the restaurant show, people didn't know what hit them. I mean, we had all the big guys, Unilever, we had Nestle, we had Haagen-Dazs, we had Ben & Jerry's, all the big, the big guys hovering around us. What is this? What, like questioning, but you know what? They were eating it and finishing it. It was just so different than what was out there. And that was the idea, was just taking a new spin to what you're eating with ice cream. And so at first, for some people, it's very hard to get your hands on certain things. But today, it's a lot easier in that if someone's coming in with an open mind, and that's the bottom line. But what we've learned from the shop is just you come in as how you are. And if you're up for going where you want to, if you're up for some adventure, then go for adventure. If you want vanilla, life is short. You got to get what you need, at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned wholesale, and that the business and wholesale had been, I think your words were like knocked or rocked. Like, what can you explain to us? What's happened?
Like basically from dust to dust. Unfortunately, the state that we're in, New York State, has not been. There's obviously the COVID factor, but there was also the businesses. We sell to a lot of places in Manhattan, and the businesses. We have customers who come into our shop who used to live in Manhattan and who moved to Long Island, who still patronize us, moved out for the safety factor. There was a new law that was passed, the No Bail law, which has been, terrible on terrible. It's made these places.
What's that law? Sorry, the No Bail law.
They put in a No Bail law for New York State where, you arrest somebody and it's almost like a turnstile. You're going through a turnstile going through the airport or something. You're in, you're out. People committing. I have police officers from numerous precincts coming in where they rearrest the same person, 4 or 5 times for the same crime in a given week. So imagine you're that store being knocked off or something. It's terrible. So Queens is not that bad. There's still parts that you have to keep your head up and keep alive. But the city basically, the governor just recently said we have to reopen in his speech, the state of the speech, which was, I think, yesterday in Albany. But he's inflicted tremendous damage. I had somebody come in whose restaurant is closed in Astoria, who came in who was interested in buying wholesale. And I had customers, permanent customers who are permanently closed now. It says red ink, which I looked it up just to see it because I wanted to see it. It's terrible. It's heartbreaking when you see what's happened. So we relied heavily on the wholesale business. Thank God about 3 years ago, I started working the store pretty regularly. And there's no better way when you're in control of your ship. When you wholesale, you wait for someone to pay you. When you have a retail place, it's right there. It goes right into your bloodstream. So there's a big difference. So that's been my goal the last 3 years, and it's been really, thank God it's working out the way we want it to, and only it should continue to go in that direction.
What kind of places were you selling to originally through wholesale?
Well, we sold to Bloomingdale's. Bloomingdale's took one order, and we're talking about the department store on 3rd Avenue. Like it's a major epicenter for fashion. Like people aren't going to the city. There's no one going to the city now. There's no tourists going to the city. There's no one who's really traveling to the city to spend time there. The Midtown is like dead at night. It's dangerous actually. So we had places in Midtown, in Times Square, bars, restaurants, burger joints, Dylan's Candy Bar. These places have been, they're boarded up. They have to board them up because They don't want the infrastructure internally to be, there was a lot of unrest that the law wasn't followed. They didn't abide by the law, a lot of people, and the leaders allowed it to happen.
So,
And it's not only trickled with me, unfortunately. It's just about every business that, less people in the city. That means less people cleaners, the dry cleaner. I mean, every business. I have a friend who's in the shade business. Nobody wants to rent space in the city. So it's really it's a big problem.
are there any thoughts of taking that instead of wholesale through stores and whatever to get into the supermarkets or things like that?
The supermarkets is a whole different road. We invested in a company many years ago that was in a supermarket. What people fail to realize, unless you have a very specific and we do have a very specific product, that you have to pay. It's rent. You got to pay for shelving. You got to pay for shelving. These guys don't usually pay you on time. Most of them are hemorrhaging themselves. It's a big problem, so it's not a place where we want to go. The margins are too small. I mean, you come into my joint, you buy a pint, the pint is it's almost $11 for a pint of ice cream. But you know what? You're going to get something that's heavy, much heavier than anything you're buying in the market. You're going to get something, that's you can't even get it. So, and that's the difference. I mean, we're having people come in, and that's the real beauty of where we positioned it. I mean, the flavors are spectacular. I called this past year the Renaissance period that we're in for us. Before COVID hit, our store was like going to almost double. Not almost, it was going to double, and then COVID hit. So we it knocked us down, but we picked up that pace not too long after, and we've been on a tear. I mean, the store, like Saturday night was the best Saturday night we've ever had in business. In the winter, 3 weeks ago, people are coming, they're buying pints, they're giving it out, they're giving it to their friends, they're storing in their freezer. I mean, Captain Crunch, I can't keep that flavor. Like I just put in today a Captain Crunch cookies and cream, which is the best selling flavor. It's 3-to-1 on Grubhub. So any order of any flavor that you see being ordered, it's 3-to-1 on Grubhub. We made a Captain Crunch cookies and cream Nutella. So it's just taking an extension of that and expanding it. And that's what we've done the last few years, and we continue to do. The flavors are just, we have like the new Dunkaroo cereal. We sold out of it. I'm gonna post. I got some. It all depends on me getting the product. So I got new product. We're gonna make some of those new flavors. But the supermarket's a very tough avenue. The margins are very low. What often happens, what people don't realize is, when you come in as a new product, right? Let's say you come in with a nice force, right? Hypothetically, where are you thinking? When you ask me that question, tell me what place you were thinking about.
I was first thinking about the more local and Jewish community supermarkets, or that would be the first place because they're familiar with their product, or maybe someplace else like a big box, like not necessarily like Costco or Walmart, where they'll pay you not like some random supermarket chains, like the ones that are more. We'll get you like 100,000 pints in a week or something like that.
You're saying not like the heavy volume.
So I'm saying I would think if you were asking me what I was thinking either you would go first to lower, not so heavy volume. You'd go to, I don't know, Gourmet Glatt, for example, or
Okay.
Seasons.
Okay, so first off, the majority of my customers right now are not even kosher, believe it or not. Which is really cool. I have people from all over. We have the Jewish market has gone up. The Five Towns market has really picked up. But we have people traveling.
I keep sending my father back every week.
Your father's I know your father for many years, but yes, it's very solid, and he knows how to pick out flavors. And your mom, and your brother,
How do you think they got to? I've been sending them to you. This is my favorite store.
Wow, thank you. So that's really what I say to people. We're offered suggestions, and we're actually been offered numerous by developers, and I don't know anyone in their right mind. I've had some people, believe it or not, suggest we should open up in the city. The city is dead. The ice cream places have gone bankrupt. But you know what I say? I say to them, I would consider at this stage where I am, I would consider my next move to do something where when the store has a non-stop flow of people. It's like there's a deli. It's kosher style. It's kosher style. It's not kosher. It is not kosher, but there's a deli called Katz's Deli. It's on Houston Street, one of the more famous delis around. And this place rocks. That's my goal. That's not my goal for my shop right now. My goal for my shop is turn it into that place. If I turn to that place, then maybe my idea is also to have stuff packed already. So people can come in and take 10, 15 pints at a shot. Where someone takes 10 or 15, it takes a while. We got to stop, to pack 10, 15 pints. I could have stuff ready to go. I could turn, people, the bottom line is if something's really good, people will travel to it. People would travel to the Lower East Side for Bialys. My mom would always go to this place called Kozar's for Bialys. We get pickles at Gus. They would, you go to places that someone who's passionate. And I truly believe, I know it. I know that people travel to us. I had someone from Westchester come in today.
Wow.
Someone from Darien, Connecticut come in today.
Whoa.
Rhode Island today. So there's a tremendous amount of, people want places to go. So, do they sell products, some of these places? Yeah, they do. But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same weight. You're paying almost $11 for a pint in my store, but there's a big difference. You're going to get the weight of it, and you're going to get these specialty flavors. So till I'm at 100, I've done so many things, with business that I've learned many lessons. I've invested in a company that sold pints in supermarkets. So I understand things that a lot of people don't understand. And I lost all my money with it. You understand? Mm-hmm. So that's a lesson that you don't want to go through, but it's a good lesson because, what people see with their eyes isn't necessarily the truth. And I'm not saying your eyes are deceiving you, but if you go to a place and you see them crazy Saturday night, how are they doing to the rest of the week? When someone wants to buy a business, what I tell them? I say, go 2 weeks, go every single day and go for, you got to go for 6-7 hours and stand in the car or stay outside and clock and see what's going on, see what's happening, see what's happening. What's the traffic? Who's going through there? And a lot of times people make that mistake. Places they come, they go. It's crazy wherever you are, even in the 5 towns. I mean, the places that come and they go. You're a king one day, and you're dust the next day. You're out. You're done. And I'm sure you know that. You've seen a lot of restaurants come and go. A lot of places come and go. What happens is in a lot of places, and it's unfortunate. When it happened in the ice cream business, is there was a few companies that. Usually when you see an explosion where someone's going here, they're going there, they're doing this, they're putting pints out, that means someone came to them with some money, okay? Because to generate that kind of money, to put up the money to buy all the milk, to buy all that product, so now someone's already buying in. So you're letting someone in. So once you let someone in, most of the times that I've seen it, almost all of the times that I've seen it, it's rare to see success. That usually is the demise of that company. Because no longer things never go. Look what happened with COVID. Yes, people were buying from the freezers, no question. Now, ice cream is the biggest category. But what I wanted to say before was that the big guys all own the majority of the ice cream brands. So what happens is when you go in there, what often happens, if you're a new product and you happen to get in there, you go in there. What the big guys will do? Oh, this guy's coming in. We're going to put our ice cream on sale now. You understand? So when something's on. There's a sale doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to repeat the business. A sale is just trying to get someone to buy it right now, buy my product over that other product. And that's the goal, is when they do that a lot of times, is they put a sale on the product. Think about that. You never even thought, did you ever think about that? They put a sale on the product, and that poor guy who started this ice cream thing, now everyone's going for this, whatever's on sale. Like, oh, that's a really good price. They knocked off whatever it is. That's a great price. I'm going to buy the other one. So now your stuff now starts sitting there. Now, ice cream in pints sitting in a freezer department is one of the most dangerous places to sit, because that real estate, what happens is that's not real estate that turns into gold. The longer the ice cream stays in that freezer, the worse off it is, because that door opens and closes. Every time that door opens and someone doesn't take your pint, that pint now crystallizes. You understand? When it opens, it melts a little bit, closes, freezes. So that whole process of closing and opening that door, it could be the demise of your launch right there, believe it or not.
Hmm. So do you think then in your long-term game that you're just going to stay out of the big supermarkets because you have the customer base that's coming to you
Yes.
on a regular basis, you trust them, they trust you, you have that connection with them?
So yes. So at this moment, to venture into something like that, I've learned my lesson. Unless someone, I've been propositioned. I had someone very, he's like, let's do this. Let's put it in the supermarkets. And I didn't want to do it. I did not want to do it. I was against it. But I was willing to listen and hear him, and I was listening to go along for the ride. If he was that interested in putting in, you need a lot of money. You have to buy some rights, you have to do some other things. I don't think it's the best way to proceed. But someone who has, so you have $1 billion and someone wants to, take $10 million and ride with something, I'll go along the ride. I mean, because you're going to learn something. You understand? Even though I don't think it's the best way to position yourself, you have to have a bigger game to just come in there. There's very few independent brands out there because the big guys, Nestle and Unilever. Nestle owns about 7 or 8 of them, and the same thing with Unilever. So they battle with each other. And why do they own all those companies? Why are they owned? Because they need the leverage to deal with these guys with the space. The space is so expensive that they have to pay. It's fees. Mm. So that usually knocks you out. I've seen so many products. I know a lot of people. I've never met one person who made money. You ready for this? In Costco, selling to Costco. I never met one. I've met people who wanted to launch and to give them exposure, but I never met one person that was successful that made money from Costco. See, the business that I've learned is you got to make money. It's got to start making money. If it's not making money, you can't have this pipe dream because it's too short. Your time is too short. You want to focus on something. So even though the store might seem like it's a little bit of a slower process, and to some degree it is, but it's there and it's growing. The numbers, when you have that kind of number, when you have that kind of data come in that you're doing your best you've ever done in the winter, on a Saturday night in the winter, that you more than crushed your best number, more than doubled, and then you like literally crushed your any winter number, like flicked it. So that's all the data you need. I'm saying in where you want to go, where you want to put your time. Look, things take time to build. That's the truth. A lot of people don't understand that. When they see someone like a Gourmet Glatt, you gave an example, there's a lot of people in that business that they hire people in the food business, but there's a people in that's an investment, and there's a lot of different plays going on with something like that. I mean, there's a lot of action with something like that, but there's a lot of, what you don't realize is there's a very big investment, a huge investment, a monstrous investment that, I don't know who owns it now, but whoever undertook that investment, it's a big investment,
Mm-hmm. So do you see that like your next place would be opening up another branch, or where do you see the next place that you're going now that you've got the data to prove that like it is picking up, it's busy, it's crazy, it's happening? So where do you see yourself moving forward?
So the only way I would do that is when I get to the point where, as I said, my store, the register doesn't stop ringing. It needs to be a musical instrument where it keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. Because when you open up a place, it takes you. I had another place on Long Island. It takes your time away. It takes your energy away. You don't want to be in too many places. You don't want to be scattered. I saw Matthew McConaughey do an interview, and he has this new book out called Green Lights. And I actually bought the book. I didn't start it yet, but I'm really impressed with him and his thinking, his thought process. And he basically was on, I forget who was talking to, but in the interview, he basically said that he had this record deal, he had this record business, and all these other things. And he said he couldn't do it 100%. And it was taking away his time. And once he realized that he couldn't be doing it the way he wanted it to be done, he just shut it all down. I mean, he had the luxury to do that because of his own companies. But what I'm saying is that the vision and the dream is, it doesn't have to, you see where things go. What happens is that things often, when you do things right fundamentally, and that's what I'm all basing everything on now, is fundamentals. When you do it fundamentally right, I believe other streets and avenues open up very quickly for you and other opportunities. And then once you get to that place where hypothetically it's ringing and it's ringing nonstop, I don't need nonstop rigging to do some good numbers. Someone comes in and buys 10 pints, that's over $100, of my product. But the only way I would consider myself in another venture is when that doesn't stop ringing. You understand? It's ringing. Then I would look elsewhere.
How much of this business is about the experience? Meaning, when you walk into Max and Mina's, firstly, everything is going on all over the place. It's a very exciting store, and then, you see all these. You're like excited to see, what kind of fancy flavors are there going to be? What's going to be the next thing, and they're also like the staple things like my personal favorite, SpongeBob flavored. So do you think a lot of it is about the experience, or do you think it's about the flavor? What do you think is really what drives your success?
So it's twofold and it's threefold. It's one, it ends with the ice cream. So if the ice cream is not going to be really spectacular, then that same pattern hype only lasts a certain amount of time. You can only hype something a certain amount of time. If something doesn't live up to the quality of your of what you're looking for, and that's why I'm very, that's one of the beauties of me working the scoop shop. I've been working the scoop shop and I love it. And one of the beauties is when people come in and I basically, they ask me, what do I recommend? That's not what I recommend. What do you like? Everything up there other than 3 or 4 flavors are self-explanatory. I don't know. What are you in the mood for? Your mood, listen, I understand that stimuli and the environment are going to affect the way you approach a product. But the most important thing is internally. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't like baklava, then you're not going to like the baklava jam. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I have that flavor's legit. It's there right now. You're not going to like that. So you really have to, it's up to really the really smart customers. What they do, they come in and they look at the board and they start processing what's there. It's unfortunate. There are people who come in and they want to look at the flavor and they don't even know what they're looking at, because 95% of the time they're not guessing it right. Like aesthetically, I know things are very important aesthetically, but what we base our formula is based on how it tastes and what experience that's going to bring to your mouth and to your mind at that moment. And even if it's just a taste and you don't even order it, that's my goal. My goal is for it to be authentic and for it to be like, so now I had somebody come in, and then I had somebody come in today who does commercials and he does all these productions. And he's like, he says to me, he's buying 4 pints of ice cream in a single scoop. And he's buying all 4. He bought a baklava jam. He bought some really wild flavors, some really exceptionally wild flavors. And he says to me, he goes, I love your new wall. I'm like, which wall? He goes, I have cereals on the wall that I've been collecting. And it's been up probably at least 3 years. I go, it's been there like 3 years. He goes, oh, I just noticed it. And this is a guy who does commercials. He shoots things. He does, big shoots that he does and in production. And I said, maybe, I said, I do change the boxes and something could all of a sudden trigger your eyes, your stimuli to look elsewhere. But, he thought I changed it up. On a daily basis, I have people coming in. I have people who just come in and want to look and just experience the ambiance. The ambiance is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So the ambiance is phenomenal. And sometimes for some kids, actually, I haven't had too many lately, but it can be overload for some. But it's an amazing experience because there's things all over to trigger. The way I sum it up is there's the past, there's the present, and there's the future. And what do I mean by that? There's the past. I have my 1976 New York Yankee program hanging up in there that I got. That I have my Mad magazines that I collected that are laminated. I have stuff from my father that he gave me that are up there. I have my father gave me stuff from the Brooklyn Dodgers, 1949. I have hanging up there. Stuff that is of value that you could sell and make money. But my idea was I wanted a living museum. What I do is I take a heavy laminate, I take a 5 mil sheet and I laminate it, which gives it protection. But I want an interactive thing. The value, what good is something in a box where you don't, people have Sports Illustrated in their boxes. I have Sports Illustrated pictures all over the place, in the back room, in the front, all over. I have all these classic images from the past. Then I have the present, which is a lot of the cereal flavors, that are currently being offered. I just hung up the new chocolate churros. I hung up the Dunkaroos, and that's kind of really cool. It's like the Wall of Hall of Fame, which is kind of like the past, but it's also the present. The Dunkaroos is raging, and then there's the president. And then there's the future. And what's the future? The future is I have all these sayings there. I have all these things with words. And what the words do is that you might not even realize that you're reading it. And you might realize, or you might read one word or two words. What it does is it triggers your mind in the future to think about something, to reflect, to look at something a little bit differently. And that's the whole idea in life, really, is to get people. I just put something on the other day that someone called us better than Disney World. That's an amazing, for a brand to be called that. This was a dressmaker. You can't get better than that. And that's what's been going on.
Look for you guys. You're talking about all your cereal flavors. It's like, what's coming to you guys every day? I'm imagining pallets and pallets of just boxes of Captain Crunch and and fruit. What is a food order? Non specifically ice cream related, but the additives that you put in. What does that look like for you guys?
So so obviously it's been pared down because the wholesale business, which was really our biggest part of our business, just shut down. Now it's just whatever. That's kind of really cool though, and that we can concentrate more on the retail shop. And it's different cereals and anything that we see. Someone just dropped off the other day. They dropped off this new cracker with. It's unbelievable what people do. It's incredible the response and the love and from our customers. She dropped off this chocolate wafer hazelnut. Unbelievable item. So we did a video. You look at maybe, I think it was yesterday's video. I put it on the mainstream on Instagram. They come back with a whole bunch of different ones because they were like, we put it on there. That's what we do. And we taste, we sample, and then we'll digest it and start thinking how we can best incorporate it. I know my brother he was there today, and he started thinking how to process that flavor into reality to make it the best way. The idea is, look, when you're making something new and it's a new ingredient, you don't know how we have a general idea how this is going to work because we've worked with things somewhat similar, but each thing works differently. Each chocolate, is going to work a little bit differently, because of the different ingredients that they use. So, it varies from week to week. But this past week last week we did a lot of new cereals, that we got a hold of, and we did them. This week we made a Captain Crunch cookies and cream Nutella. We just built on that flavor, which maybe will be a new flavor. Sort of like we had Tate's 7 months ago. Tate's, the chocolate chip cookie from Southampton. We put it in there, and the response. The idea with flavors.
Yeah, the marshmallow Tate's one was really good.
Yeah. So we don't have that one now. Actually, we know it's coming in with Tate's. So Tate's became a permanent flavor 7 months ago. It became a permanent flavor that we keep there all the time unless someone comes in and buys up all my inventory, which could happen sometimes. Captain Crunch was knocked out this past weekend. Doesn't happen a lot, but someone could come in and buy up all my stock. The customer decides the fate of a flavor. I don't stock endless stocking of a flavor, but they're like Tate's amazing. Like we have a Tate's Heath Bar coming in. I like it to come in this weekend. Phenomenal Heath Bar, the combination. So that's the beauty of what we're able to do. And we just, it's a day by day, it's a minute by minute. Something could trigger me where I eat something and I say, oh, let's do this.
Nice.
Oh, I love the creative
all right.
process.
Yeah, it sounds really, really cool. And if you ever need tasters, I'm sure myself and Joseph can always put our lives on the line for you and taste some new product.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Listen, you could do that in the store anytime. You can come in there. And especially if there's no line, that's the beauty of our culture. We don't mind. You can come in there, get some taste, and you don't even you go where you need to go. You know what I'm saying? You buy when you're ready to buy. You know what I'm saying?
Amazing.
That's our philosophy.
My philosophy is always to keep one of your guys' pints in my freezer. I live off that.
That's a great move, man. It's a great. You know what? To be that means you're in charge of your own domain, and that's the key in life.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it means
So-
also you're in charge of my domain.
All right, Bruce, now we're going to ask you a really important question of what is your favorite flavor?
So that's a hard question to answer because my favorite flavor is always changing. You know, all the Captain Crunch Nutella is my favorite flavor at the moment. But before that was coffee Ferrero Rocher caramel. Before that was we did a Tate's toasted marshmallow. You know, so I did a peanut butter one last week. We had a pancake peanut butter and jelly. So each day it's going to change. It goes with my mood, what I'm in the mood for, you know, and that's what dictates it.
Okay, so we're all about, on Pure Conversation, we're all about breaking news. So can you give us something that hasn't been released yet to the public, a new flavor that you're going to be trying, something that you can give our listeners something to revel about and look forward to trying?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know, truthfully, it's not like it's not like I hold anything back. Like we made a whole bunch of new flavors, like these cereals. We did Larabar came out with a new cereal. So we did a cashew cereal. Amazing. We did, you know, we're pretty straightforward. Like we're going to make another run of Dunkaroos. I got new inventory for it. You know, I give people that feedback when it's out there, like what's coming, but it's just it's the basics of just building on everything, like the Captain Crunch. Like I know it might sound like that's a killer. That's going to be a really successful flavor, and it's going to carry into we're going to just here it is. Like we're going to move into more of like Captain Crunch is our best-selling flavor. So our goal this year was to move into more Captain Crunch flavors, you know, because the taste, you know, not every cereal works. Like Trix does not work the same way the Fruity Pebbles works. Doesn't. It just doesn't, you know. So there's some flavors, Apple Jacks does not work the same way as Fruit Loops, which doesn't work the same way, again, back to Fruity Pebbles. There's some things that work better than others. Fruity Pebbles really works. Captain Crunch really works. I mean, some of these other cereals, Cinnamon Toast Crunch really works. Like we just did a whole bunch of Cinnamon Toast flavors, you know, Cinnamon Toast, we're putting in Cinnamon Toast Crunch cookie dough, you know, and that's the idea of these different spins combined with like cookie dough's been around, you know, I think from the 80s or late 70s, you know, just build on that.
So do you have any theories on, and then we'll wrap this up. Do you have any theories on why Captain Crunch is the most popular flavor? Or what makes a cereal flavor more popular?
You know, I think that it's up to the person that decides the destiny of a flavor. Look, obviously there's a hype when you announce something is number one. Everyone wants a gun for number one, and number one could just by the sheer confident. You work off confidence. You know, they always tell you that when you're shooting a foul shot, you know, and you want to make it, you have to imagine yourself the ball going in the hoop. You want to win, you got to imagine yourself winning, you know, and that's the idea of a winner. So it could be the addition of the hype of it, but I think the foundation of this flavor is just it just works perfectly. The cereal translates perfectly with the ice cream. Not everything does that, and that's just the way life goes. You know, it's the properties of the different cereals. But this one specifically, you know, it wasn't always a constant flavor. You know, originally the plan was, oh, it's a great wholesale flavor. I would like rotate different flavors. I'm like, when I started working the store, I said, what am I doing? Why am I rotating a Captain Crunch in and out? That's a very highly requested flavor. So the key is to listen to what the customer is looking at. You can't listen to everything. You know, I'm making a sugar-free ice cream now for somebody who's very sick, and we're gonna make this flavor. It's kale's gonna be in there, and it's for somebody who's really sick. And we're doing it, you know, this is going to be their food that they're going to be eating.
Incredible.
Where will that turn? How will that go? You know, like people want sugar free. Some brothers like there's someone who we know could use some sugar free too, so we can feed some of that. But generally speaking, just as an example, you can't listen to everybody because sugar free, you go into the supermarket, there'll be some stuff there, but what is it? It's ice cream in the soup. Like the examples that you were asking me, if you look in those, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I'm not saying there's not. There's a lot of action in those freezers. Ice cream is the number one dessert frozen category. There's a lot of action. Unfortunately, the two biggest guys control all of it. So you're going to be like a puppet if you go in there. But you won't see much sugar free. You'll see some, but it's ice cream. You'll see some of the other stuff, the keto, the whatever, but it's ice cream. Ice cream dominates because ice cream is the best tasting, and that's what people are looking for in the end when they want to indulge. They want something that's good, and that's our formula. Our formula is not just good. Our formula is it's going to take you places. You understand? It's going to take you to like Elon Musk is doing that. I have people, some guy, unbelievable column, he compared us to. Called us the Elon Musk of ice cream. Like, the idea is to go to the moon. You want to go to the moon. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't care to go into a rocket ship to go to the moon, but I'd love to get a camera up there and get some views from the moon. You know what I'm saying? But you want to be adventurous. You want to, go on that adventure where you're away somewhere. And however it is, even if it is just being in my shop. But when you're in my shop and you take this, that's the beauty is now you take my shop with you and it's going in your freezer. Like Joseph was saying, he wants always a pint in there. That's the key.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to tweeting out to Elon Musk, asking him if we can get some Max and Minas up into space in the near future.
There you go. Love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So Bruce, thank you so much for joining us here at Pure Conversation. We really appreciate and thank you for all the insight you gave us into your business, into the ice cream industry. We've learned a great amount, and we hope that our listeners really enjoy it as much as we have done. And I just want to do a shameless plug for Max and Mina's ice cream store located on 7126 Main Street, Flushing, New York. And if you've heard anything like we've heard tonight, I will be there pretty soon, hopefully. And I'm sure most of our listeners will be heading there. So thank you very much, Bruce.